Beijing is harassing overseas individuals, including U.S. citizens. They've now recruited U.S. federal agents to do their work. The conflict between homebuyers and bankers in China is growing. Hundreds of homebuyers are refusing to pay mortgages because their homes have been incomplete for several years. A leaked document in China revealed the censorship practices within an online platform, Xiaohongshu. What gets censored? Finally, to boost its economy, Hong Kong is handing out vouchers worth 5,000 Hong Kong dollars. There's a catch though, not everyone is eligible. Let's get into it. Welcome to Sound of Hope News. My name is Daniela Wolensack, and today is July 18th. China has recruited U.S. federal agents to target Chinese dissidents based in America. U.S. authorities refused to follow Beijing's brazen intrusion into other countries. Last week, the U.S. Justice Department accused one former and one current Department of Homeland Security agent, VOA reported. The law enforcement agency said the men aided a transnational repression scheme to silence, harass, discredit, and spy on U.S.-based residents for exercising their freedom of speech. Their victims ranged from a prominent California-based Chinese sculptor to a Chinese-American Army veteran running for a congressional seat in New York. Beijing has previously organized transnational repression inside the United States and in other countries, but this is the first time that it has recruited federal agents. The campaign targets many groups, including multiple ethnic and religious minorities, political dissidents, human rights activists, journalists, and former insiders accused of corruption. The CCP does this in a variety of ways, from online harassment and intimidation to physical assault and assassination. These tactics affect millions of Chinese and minority populations in at least 36 host countries across every inhabited continent, according to Freedom House. Freedom House's conservative data showed since 2014, there have been over 214 direct physical attacks, and they all originate from China. However, these terrible cases are only a part of a broader system of surveillance, harassment, and intimidation. It leaves many overseas Chinese and exiled minorities feeling that the CCP is watching them. Their basic rights feel threatened even when living in a democratic country. The leader of the Justice Department's counterintelligence, David Laufman, said, "There seems to be a marked escalation in their efforts to carry out this unlawful campaign, a campaign that's inimical not only to U.S. law, but also to democratic values that we adhere to." Taiwan think tank Deputy CEO Dong Siqi pointed out that the infiltration of such law enforcement personnel are those who have influence and are crucial in democratic countries may be the latest tactics of the CCP's transnational suppression overseas. Transnational repression is viewed by U.S. officials as a violation of national governments that must be countered. The U.S. is focusing on Chinese attacks because U.S. law enforcement and intelligence officials gave warnings about Chinese espionage and influence operations, according to Homeland Security Newswire. The Undersecretary of State for Civilian Security, Democracy and Human Rights, Uzra Zeya, told a congressional panel last month that the reach and frequency of China's global repression is growing more alarming by the day. The conflict in China between homebuyers and banks has intensified. The refusal to pay mortgage may lead to a crisis for the Chinese Communist Party. It is the most viewed topic on China's internet right now. Large-scale protests have increased. The wave of unpaying loans has spread from second-tier cities to major cities such as Beijing and Shanghai. The homebuyers are rebelling because their houses are often given to them unfinished, which isn't what they paid for. As of July 15th, the number of mortgage suspension notices issued by the homeowners of Evergrande Longting Real Estate in Jingdezhen City, Jiangxi Province, increased to nearly 300 people. According to the Central News Agency in Taiwan, on the morning of the 14th, the Shanxi Provincial Banking and Insurance Regulatory Bureau was surrounded by thousands of homebuyers. This incident was not reported by the media in China and could not be found on social media. Through secret links to international media, Twitter videos showed owners holding up protest banners, chanting illegal lending practices, while a large number of police were on guard at the scene. The chief of the Public Security Bureau acted as a mediator during the incident, but employees from the China Banking and Insurance Regulatory Bureau were reluctant to step outside to talk to representatives. Outside, the homeowners shouted, "Don't be afraid, we won't hurt you." Xi'an City has one of the worst reputations for unfinished buildings. An informal count found 70 high-rise buildings. Out of desperation, nearly 300 owners in the Yihefang community in Xi'an moved into an unfinished building in March. To their dismay, the builder did not intend to complete the construction. They are now living in the high-rise with no water, electricity, or elevators. Since then, more than 100 homeowners of Jinling apartments in Xi'an High-Tech Zone have also moved into unfinished buildings. Those buildings have been incomplete for nearly 5 years. Homeowners were forced to sleep on the floor. The real estate developers had cut off water and electricity. The trapped homeowners told the media, "Refusing to pay for the mortgage loans is our last and only resort. We'd rather live in our completed homes." The hundreds of thousands of homeowners who issued the notice of mortgage suspension all pointed to two irregularities: the bank's illegal lending practices and misappropriation of funds due to lack of regulatory supervision. Senior auditor and economist at the Institute of Information Strategy in Maryland, Li Hengqing, commented on the situation. He thinks the homeowners are pained by the indefinite wait for their houses. They realize that they may not get a house for the rest of their lives. Continuing to pay the loans would be a bottomless money pit for banks. Although circumstances force the homeowners to stop paying mortgages, their personal credit ratings will be badly affected. Li told Sound of Hope. While the real estate developers did not fulfill their construction contracts, the banks still asked the homeowners to fulfill their loan contracts. The banks just let the developers take the money in custodial accounts. The developers and the banks are both at fault. Li also said the public trust in the system has been lost. He warned that when people's money can be plundered, they will rebel. This will negatively impact the CCP regime. Xiaohongshu, or Little Red Book, is an online shopping and social networking platform in China. Recently, a Xiaohongshu document was leaked that contained extensive details about the censorship of speech. According to China Digital Times, the 143-page document describes how Xiaohongshu monitors public opinion on Chinese social platforms. The cases are accumulated over several months. Sensitive words are singled out so that censors can monitor 200 million active users on the platform. In the document, Public Opinion Monitoring and Handling Process and System, the Xiaohongshu Censorship Department defines 10 types of public opinion. These include social incidents that may cause political and social unrest and endanger national security, and people's criticisms and suggestions to the Chinese Communist Party and government agencies. It divides public opinion into two categories: censorship orders issued by the government and internal public opinion, which refers to Xiaohongshu's proactive self-censorship. The emergency handling process section describes how the censorship department quickly deletes relevant content and uses the deleted content to extract derivative words for further censorship. The number 1 public opinion special review contains 61 public opinion logs. The Xiaohongshu censorship department found 271 public opinions about Xi Jinping and added 564 sensitive words to be censored. In another public opinion daily, the censorship department reported 596 pieces of public opinion. They instructed the censors on what content was negative, harmful, or rumors. It was ultimately included in Xiaohongshu's censorship standards. For example, the Xiaohongshu censorship system believes that the 2 Congress conferences of the CCP belong to high-risk political content, so discussion of related content is prohibited. All remarks possibly related to so-called Taiwan independence are also under watch. Several logs required a strict analysis of Hong Kong street photography. Xiaohongshu public opinion logs contain Weibo users reporting illegal content. And the document June 4th relevant materials, the Xiaohongshu censorship department summarized video, music, books, and artworks related to June 4th as study materials. In the document, samples intercepted by public opinion mining during the June 4th period, 5 samples of June 4th related public opinions were included, and the censorship principles are explained. To boost the Hong Kong economy after the pandemic, the Hong Kong government is distributing consumer vouchers. The vouchers are worth 5,000 Hong Kong dollars. The second phase will be distributed on August 7th. Those who have left Hong Kong or intend to leave will not be given a voucher. This encompassed about 240,000 Hong Kong people, including those who have withdrawn their MPF retirement funds but have returned to Hong Kong. Several affected citizens criticized the policy. The Hong Kong government said people can apply for a review within 14 days, and the Secretariat will inform them in writing whether they are eligible within 6 weeks. Reporters noticed that the consumer voucher office on the 7th floor of Pioneer Center in Mong Kok has been crowded for a few days, with people filing complaints. One citizen who has returned to Hong Kong for 3 years is dissatisfied with why people living in Hong Kong cannot get consumption vouchers. He feels worse than new immigrants, stating, "Why don't they check the entry record?" Now senior officials will grab hundreds of thousands of monthly salaries. The policy is fooling the people. Those living in Hong Kong aren't actually getting money. The Financial Secretary's Office Budget and Tax Policy Unit, Director Wang Xueling, said on Saturday that people eligible to apply for consumption vouchers must be very bothered because they must submit documents to prove that they live in Hong Kong. It is also speculated that some of them are really immigrants, and the government wants to exclude them. Thank you so much for listening. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. See you tomorrow.